Good morning. If you look at the current leadership literature to a large extent, we only know why or how leaders succeed. But we do not know why or how leaders, particularly why leaders failed. So I think it is a very, very important piece of information. Understanding failed leadership can give us some more perspectives on what causes good leadership, as much as understanding a failure story is as valuable as understanding a success story. In the same way, understanding what causes leadership failures would be very, very useful. We have some insights from Bhagavad Gita on this, so it may be very useful to look at that. As we all know, Arjuna as a character, as it is depicted in Mahabharata, is a great warrior, a person with skills which are extraordinary. His skills in archery is unparalleled. All these we are aware. Yet, this character called Arjuna, on the battlefield, when at the moment the war was to begin, he collapsed completely. That is what you see in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. So what do we understand from that? There are 47 shlokas in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. And if you look at shloka 20 to 47, we get very interesting ideas on failed leadership. What really happens is Arjuna comes to the battlefield and he looks at the army on both sides and he collapses. He is not ready to fight the war. This is like saying, after a lot of thinking, there is a war and between two countries, and at the international border, you just go and stand there and the chief of army says, "Oh, it is not a great idea to fight a war, let us step back." The situation was something similar. Arjuna gave 4 reasons why he thought it was not a good idea to fight the war. And the reasons are as follows. The first reason that he gave was that he has no motivation for fighting the war, because he argued that if the war is for winning and the outcome of that winning is to enjoy this kingdom, he says, I am not interested. Since I am not interested, why should I fight the war? So there is no personal motivation. That's the first argument he brought. The second argument he brought was, he felt that the war, if by fighting the war, happiness is not guaranteed. On the other hand, what can happen is it can lead to a lot of sorrow. So when happiness is not guaranteed, he feels that it is futile to go for the war. So that is a second argument. The third argument that he made was much more deeper. He uses the word Varna Sankara. He says war creates a much bigger problem. It disrupts the social order and it creates so much of social problems that he says it may be irreversible, the damage may be much deeper, therefore let us not fight the war. That is the third argument. These 3 arguments are in chapter 1. And in chapter 2, he continued and he put forth one more argument, and that is, he said it is an impractical idea. Why did he say that? Because he said, how do I kill Bhishma and Drona? That is what he asks. So he advanced 4 arguments and said that there is no point in fighting the war. Now here is a classic example of a leadership failing at the 11th hour when it is supposed to deliver. Now, of course, in the beginning of the second chapter, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna uses a wonderful word. He says, Tyaktva hridaya daurbalyam uttishta. Shudram hridaya daurbalyam tyaktva uttishta parantapa. Give up this faint-heartedness and get up, is what Krishna told to Arjuna. Now the question is, why did Arjuna fail? Now, if you look at these shlokas in a little more detail, if you go over it and then reflect on it, The idea is very clear. A leader fails. In fact, a leader may be very good in communication. A leader may have good interpersonal skills. A leader may have a very good thinking mind, analytically very sound. All that. In fact, Arjuna had all that. So all these skills that we are talking about are skills to deal with the world outside. But if you look at this example, the problem was not in the world outside. The problem was in the world inside. Each one of us have a world inside. Arjuna's war, the problem of what he saw outside, created a much bigger war inside. So the most important message that you see in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita is, if you are not in peace with yourself, if you are not finding a certain peace in the world inside, no matter what skills you have to deal with the outside world, you will not be able to deal with the outside world at all. You will collapse like a pack of cards. I think this is a very interesting message. This is an issue which we need to understand, because traditional management theories and leadership theories to a large extent has been preoccupied with dealing with the outside world. How do I deal with my subordinates? How do I motivate my subordinates? How do I communicate? How do I vision? How do I analyze problems? How do I think through, have a vision which is farther? But the problem that Arjuna faced is, because he did all these so well, he had a problem inside. Because he visualized clearly what is going to happen, he started collapsing. So the message in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, if I were to really put it in a single line, is a failed leadership is on account of a person not being able to find peace within. And therefore, great leadership happens or begins only with a possibility that a person is in peace unto himself. The world within is peaceful. I think this opens up a certain perspective to leadership theory. I think we need to look at it. Of late, authentic theory, spiritual leadership, to an extent, level 5 leadership of Jim Collins, they are all touching on this issue. But this issue of looking at the world within has not been adequately inquired, adequately understood, and adequately discussed. I think that would be a very useful step going forward. Thank you.